Who are you, and why do you let all these people come to your property?
I'm Ben.
I'm Janell.
And we have lived here in the inland Northwest for around 6 years. Prior to that, we lived in Colorado, and we lived up in the mountains at 7,000 feet. And we had a little tiny house, a 12 by 14 foot tiny house that we lived in. And we loved it. We had these amazing views of Rocky Mountain National Park. And so when we moved up there, we put some game cameras out because we wanted to see what was on our property. And we had bears and elk and mountain lion. And we also had neighbors looking in our windows. And we come to find out that they really didn't like living next to someone that was living in a tiny house. Even though they couldn't see us and we couldn't see them, they were on our property. Not only one, but a couple of our neighbors. Multiple occasions.
What were they doing there? Just poking around?
Just poking around. Yeah, just poking around. So the bottom line was we had some of our neighbors calling the county on us, and each time the county came out and said, listen, we get this all the time, but they wouldn't tell us who it was. But we found out from a neighbor that these same people that were on our property looking in our windows were the ones that were calling the county on us. And so being a good neighbor, I approached them and say, hey, we heard that there was some problem. What's the problem? I don't know. We didn't call the county on you. And so the bottom line is we wanted to move out to the country to have peace. And we didn't have peace. Mm-hmm. And so one day I went to a road association meeting, and after that meeting, I just said, Janell, what do you think if we sold the property? And she said, absolutely. Well, prior to that, about 2 years prior to that, we had driven through this area, and I was going up to Kelowna to speak at a conference, and we drove through this area and was like, wow, this is really beautiful. Not knowing and not even, being interested in selling our property, but when we decided we were going to sell our property in Colorado, I said, you know what? We should look in that area. Mm-hmm. And we did. We scheduled 5 days to come out and look at property. I think our real estate agent, Bob, he had nearly 50 properties for us to look at. And the first day, this was the third property, and Janell said,
this is it.
This is it. And I'm like, are you sure? We've got like 40 some more properties to look at.
Don't you want to look at any more of them? Nope.
Nope, this is it. And so, all you guys know, when Mama's happy, everyone's happy. So we purchased it. We have nearly 75 acres, and this property was logged about 5 years prior to us purchasing it, and there was 15 huge slash piles all over this property. And so that was one of the first things that we started working on, is getting rid of those slash piles. We tell people we live in a mansion now because we have a 16 by 32 foot barn shed that we converted. And of course, to us, living in a 12 by 14 foot tiny house, it feels like we have a mansion. And so we committed the cardinal rule of never work on a house while you're living in it. But we did that for the third time. And so we finished it while we were living in it, while we were working on the property. And we decided, when was it we decided about the Thrivalist concept?
2019.
2019. So if any of you know, there's a Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And we kind of shifted that hierarchy of needs around. And so our hierarchy of needs starts, the foundation of the pyramid is spiritual preparedness. We are Christians, and we believe that spiritual preparedness is important. And along with that spiritual preparedness is also being healthy. And then moving up on the pyramid, it's financial preparedness, and that means being out of debt, and also being out of debt. Being out of debt allows you to drive the rest of the preparedness process, because this does take money and it costs money to be prepared. And then we have the normal preparedness, the food preparedness, weapons preparedness, making sure you have tools, off-grid preparedness. All that goes in the rest of the hierarchy of needs. But that's kind of what the Thrivalist is all about. We're always talking about surviving through a crisis. Surviving is the minimal. Oftentimes it's not comfortable, but you get through it. Well, being a Thrivalist or thriving is a higher level of surviving, and it's actually having more of a comfort level while you're going through this. So we came up with this word called Thrivalist. We have that website, and we have that name, and we first decided, we need to share this, because we found that more and more people were interested in this off-grid, basic living, trying to downsize, not having a big house, being debt-free. And we thought, we need to share this. Mm-hmm. And so it was 2019 that we had the first idea to have a fair and tell them about what happened there.
So we had the fairgrounds reserved, and then we had 2 days before our fair was to start, the fairgrounds manager called us and said, I'm going to have to cancel on you because the firefighters that were fighting wildfires need the space. And unfortunately, when we got to the day of the fair, we drove down to the fairgrounds because we thought, there might be people that came that we didn't get in contact with, and so we could tell them what had happened. And there were no firefighters there. And we to this day don't know why they canceled the fairgrounds on us and canceled our contract. But we decided at that time, we need to just do it on our own property.
Yeah, COVID came after that, and that put a squelch on everything. And so when the state of Washington opened up and they were allowing events outside with up to 400 people, we decided, okay, we're not going to go that fairgrounds route. We're not going to rely on other people. We have a beautiful piece of property here that we'll just have it on our property. Now, with that said, if you're into preparedness at all, this was a thing that we kind of hesitated, because do we want to invite people on our property to see what we're doing, what our setup is, and everything like that? And so we really struggled about that, and being Christians, we prayed about it, and we decided, the world as it's going to hell in a handbasket. We felt that people needed community, especially after COVID, where we were locked down, we were forced to be isolated, we couldn't do things, is that people really needed community. And because more and more people were doing this, living a simpler lifestyle, we thought, we're going to just let it go, and we're going to leave it in God's hands, and we're going to invite people up, and we're not going to worry about it. We're just going to leave it in God's hands and see what happens. So the first year, back in 2021, we had it out here. We had no idea how many people would come. And we had about 100 people. And we thought, well, that was pretty cool. And everyone was just super jazzed about having this kind of fair. I remember right at the end of the fair, we had this one guy come up to us and he said, my wife and I and the kids, we have lived in this area for 5 years, and this is the first time we have felt community. Mm-hmm. And we thought, what? That's exactly what we were going for. And so
because we wanted to feel that sense of community with people too.
Exactly. And we met so many wonderful people that year. It was simply amazing. Mm-hmm. And so we decided to do it again. And last year we had a little over 200 people come. And so we knew that we were onto something. everyone, so thankful. Thank you for doing this. And again, we are hopefully teaching people things, but every time we learn some amazing stuff too.
Yeah, and I think people really appreciate knowing that you're not the only weirdo out there. You know, we can be made to feel like we're weird because of trying to prepare, and we've been called doomsday preppers before, and we're definitely not doomsday preppers.
Yeah, we're not doomsday preppers.
We want to thrive in difficult times.
Yep. Yeah, this was our third year now, and we had significantly more vendors and significantly more people. And, you know, we want to make sure you take care of your vendors and ask all of them, and they were extremely pleased. And people are just so happy that we're having this. It was very interesting is that we had a large group of younger people come over from Seattle, and they just said they were freedom-loving people, and they meet in a group, and they came over and just loved it.
Yeah, several of them said they feel like fish out of water in Seattle, and so they came here and found their tribe.
Yeah, they found their tribe. And they're definitely going to come back, and we're going to stay in contact with them. And again, that is exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to, you know, here they live in Seattle, and they feel like they're fish out of water. They feel like they don't belong, and they're meeting in their homes because they're like-minded. And now they found a group of people that are like-minded with them. And so even though they live all the way across the state, we're going to keep in contact with them, and we're going to support their meetings, and they're obviously going to come back. And that's exactly what we're trying to do.
How big do you want this to get?
That's a very good question. I have no idea. We have 40 acres in the back there that is just an open field, and we could definitely expand to have 1,000 people if we wanted to. And so we have no expectations. We have no goals that, you know, we're going to expand this to X number in a number of years. We're just going to kind of let that happen naturally. And if someday it grows out of the present area that we have, we'll move it to the back 40 and allow it to grow even bigger.
Would you ever consider like prepper camp? You've heard of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
People come from all over the world to go to that. With this much space and kind of having the abilities that you have here for people to stay, to camp, to have wherever you want to for booths, to have that much expansion, is that something that maybe 5 years from now, this is a week-long event?
What do you think?
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah?
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. You know, I'm close to retirement, and my wife, she has a job that will allow her to work when beyond retirement if she wants to. But that is definitely something that I have considered after retirement, is being able to spend full time on growing this. You know, now this is just a part-time thing that we do. So yeah, we would be definitely amenable to that happening if it grew to that big. Yeah, absolutely.
Are there presenters, speakers, someone that you would want to come? I mean, how do you pick the people that are vendors or people that are speakers, or how do you design the schedule, and who's your person, who's your group that you'd love to have come out here?
Well, I'll answer the first part of the question. So originally we had a preparedness group in our local county that we became involved with, and we originally relied on them. And even though none of them were big name speakers, they were very, very knowledgeable in preparedness. And so we originally leaned on them as resources and as speakers and such. And even today, after our third year, we had some of those speakers that we had originally the first year. But then just through networking, we have been in contact with other people, and we had some bigger name speakers that had gone to the Saluda
Prepper camp.
And we sent our daughter and son-in-law out there last year to kind of just get an idea, because they have it down, they've been doing it, they're one of the largest and one of the best, and so we had them go to all the meetings, and we just said, listen, if you see someone that you think is a very good speaker and provided some good information, can you just talk to them? And so this year we had a number of them come out here to ours for the first time. And then a funny story, I'll tell you, let my wife tell the story about Rosemary, so go ahead.
So Rosemary Gladstar is well known to people interested in herbalism, and I had a friend of mine say, would you like my sister to speak at your fair? And I said, well, who's your sister? She said, Rosemary Gladstar. And I said, what? Yeah, I've known you this many years and you've never mentioned that. And she said, yeah, I can get her to speak if you want, because she's coming to visit me that weekend anyway. So there we go. Yeah. And she graciously gave us 3 presentations on 2 different days.
And next year, I can't really talk about who we might be having come next year.
We don't have it confirmed yet.
We don't have it confirmed yet.
It's a big one.
But it's a big one. And we hope that we can get him. But it's just through networking. This person, if we get him, we met someone who is a really good friend of his. And he unfortunately couldn't come this year, and so I said, hey, can you come back next year? And he said, hey, if I come back next year, would you mind if I, and we're like, what? Yes, absolutely. And so we hope we can get him, and if we could get him, you had asked the question about thousands, we would have 1,000 people out here to come and see him. Sure. So it's just through networking and asking people, hey, do you know something? And it's not all about the big name speakers either, because we also ask people, for example, we had a speaker that canceled, and a young man came up and said, hey, I can fill that spot. Can I talk about small engines? And we're like, sure. And we had 20 people, and he taught about small engines, and they really enjoyed it. So not only about the big speakers, but it's about, also fostering and growing the young people. If you got someone that feels comfortable speaking and they've got something that's good, we had a
teenage girl this afternoon taught how to tan a small animal hide.
Yeah,
and she had a full
house. So it's networking, getting a few big speakers that come in, but also filling it and trying to train up the next generation too.
So you've had 3 years of this, and you've had speakers on certain topics. Is there topics that you would like to have people present or speak on in the future? If there's an expert out there in whatever kind of, do you want more authors? Do you want somebody that knows more about digging wells, or do you want somebody that what's the topics that you'd love to have seen here?
Well, for me, being in the medical profession, I'm always interested in anything health related, or how we can prepare for whatever is going to come next, what the next pandemic is going to be, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, we think that with the degradation of the healthcare system, that people are going to need to be educated more on how to take care of basic health issues, but also how to live more healthy so that they don't need health care. I also think that with what they're trying to do with food, that being able to grow your own garden and to be self-sufficient from a food standpoint is going to be very important. And I'm not a master gardener, and we're learning along the way, but we need to learn more about how to be more self-sufficient from a food standpoint. I also think it's very important that we learn how to repair stuff. because we're not going to have the ability to go to the store. So that's why that young man, when he came up and said small engine repair, that's something that I want to go to, because that is a black hole for me. I'm not good at that, so I need to learn how, if my chainsaw breaks down, I take it now to our local place and they'll fix it. Well, I need to learn that, because I may need to be able to fix engines. It's just basically all encompassing of being self-sufficient. That's why we really liked Toolman Tim, because that's kind of what he's about. And the other thing that I think is important is we need to have more. Americans are in debt, and so they don't have the disposable income, because they're so in debt, to be able to be prepared. And so it's basically all the things that we talked about in that pyramid. It's all of that. We need to have all of that. We need to, more and more we're going to have to be spiritually prepared. More and more we're going to have to not rely on healthcare. That's going to go away. More and more we're going to have to rely on being able to grow our own food. How do we store our food? How much food do we need to store? What tools do we need to be more? So yeah, those are the kind of things that we're going to continue to press, and we'll want to get speakers that can educate people on those lines.
I put a few feelers out for people I know in this world, and we might get you some
that would be
speakers
awesome
for next year. Is it always going to be on Liberty Weekend?
At the present.
Yeah, at the present, we're open to changing it to a different time if people find something that works for them.
Yeah, and we continue to survey people. As both my wife and I, because we're medical people, we have organized medical meetings before, and so a lot of things are very, very similar in organization and getting speakers and so on and so forth. But with that said, we're new to this area of organizing a preparedness fair, and so if the people that are coming to the fair say, hey, we'd like you to do this, we'd like you to increase it to 3 days, or like you said earlier, hey, this is growing, we really want more, can you increase it to a week? Well, then we'd start asking those questions. Well, when do you think that would be? When would be good for you? And then that's when we would change. So right now, it seems to work for people having the Sunday, Monday over the holiday weekend. But if they want something different, we would definitely change.
Yeah.
I know a few of the different events that I've gone to in Montana, Idaho, Washington, Western Washington. When you get what you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 classes going on at the same time, and in 2 days you don't get to see enough of the people. Even at prepper camp, they have so many people talking and doing stuff, you still don't get to see everything that you want to see. Mm-hmm. And I think if you start getting a lot more people to present, then it's just going to force you to have it be a longer event.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're learning as we go, and this was the first time that we had a main tent and 4 breakout tents, and we definitely need to improve on that. And we received a number of very good recommendations that were from the people that attended, and also some of the bigger speakers that we had. They gave some recommendations that we're going to take into account, and yeah, we're just going to try to improve every year. And take some of the advice that some of the big name people who go to do this all the time, and we'll learn from them.
So the event usually ends at like 5 o'clock, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then people can camp here and stay here. What stuff can we do on the property while we're just waiting for nighttime and waiting to go to sleep and waiting to, besides just hanging out and talking to each other, which is amazing. It's the only reason why I come to these things.
What we have done is we have a fire pit, and we're still early enough in the year that we can burn. And we had the group that came over from Seattle. They Some of them brought their instruments, and they were out here singing last night and playing their.
They sounded good.
Yeah, they sounded good. Yeah,
I was sitting there watching them for a while.
Yeah, we were so exhausted. We were in bed, but we heard them as like they sounded good. And so again, we encourage people to, hey, we got a fire. I know it gets cooler in the evening here. Start a fire in the fire pit. Last year, we had one of the guys who told stories around the campfire, and the kids loved it. And so, yeah, we do those kind of things to try, again, all we're trying to do is get people connected together with community.
And I think that's one of the biggest things with camping here is, when the fair attendees go home and we have 35, 40 campers here, it's great fellowship, a great time to make friends and talk to people, and that's the biggest thing that we want to accomplish is connecting people with other people.
I try to go around and we, for example, when we had all the campers that were coming in the other day, there was 2 young kids in the back, and so they had not come before. This is their first time here, and I looked in the back and I said, "Are you guys looking for other kids?" And they said yes, and I said, "Well, there's 3 kids over there in that campsite. You guys might want to camp over there." So they camped over there, and the kids were playing, and we had about 10 teenagers that they kind of hung around with each other the whole time, and I try to go around in the evening and just talk with everyone when I'm in the morning and we're out changing trash cans and stuff, like, "How you doing? You have a good night's sleep?" And again, we're just trying to meet people and create the community.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I was kind of impressed about with this event was that you had a place for children of all ages to group up and hang out together and have their own special little hikes and events and things that they do, and just sitting down and talking about video games or whatever. And that was pretty cool. I've never seen that at any of the other events that I've been to. It's just kids are like, "I don't want to be here. Can I go home?" And I didn't hear that once because they were all hanging out over there. And that was pretty amazing. I like that. That should grow a little bit.
Yeah.
And we had the 5 to 12-year-olds with classes that at no charge for the parents to put them in, and we did all kinds of stuff. We did choose your own adventure survival stories for children, and we did fire building. What else did we do?
Well, and this is a cool story. So last year at the fair, our second year, I was so busy, and Janell was working with the kids, and one of the things that she did was took them out in our back 40, and we have another set of woods out there, and taught them how to build a shelter. And so let's say that you're out with your parents out in the wilderness and you get separated. What do? And we talked about, what are the things you do, and one of the things that you need to consider is that if your mommy and daddy can't find you, you're going to need to build a shelter, especially if it's in the fall or if it's in the early spring. And so they built a shelter out there. I didn't know it, and I was out there this spring, and I saw the shelter, and I thought, do I have a squatter on the property? They did a great job building that shelter, and it was still standing with all the snow that we had and everything. And our first year, we did an event with the kids where we said, okay, we talked about situational awareness with them. And so if you're out and you do get separated from your parents, what do? You need to be aware of your surroundings, and you need to, as you're walking, don't just be oblivious to things. Where am I walking? And so we literally took them out, and we said, as we're walking, I want you to observe what are some of the things, what are some of the landmarks that you're walking by. And we took them way out in the field, and then we said, okay, now as you look back, what are some of the things that you observed that can get you back to where we started? And so again, we want to get these kids started early on things like preparedness, how to survive when you're out, what are the things that you need to do. And so we have those kind of events with the kids also.
And the kids, one of the things we did yesterday was taking them out on a walk to do animal tracking. What signs are you seeing of animals here, and what kinds of animals? And the kids got so excited. They're finding all kinds of little tracks or little holes that animals are in. We looked at the big stump that the bear clawed, and they love it.
We went on a treasure hunt with them, and what we do
at
is
nighttime.
At nighttime, and we had the parents come along and bring flashlights, and we gave them hints, and they were directional hints. So they, and again, this taught them situational awareness. We say, okay, I want you to go to the gully that overlooks where you came up the road when you came to the fair, and you will find another hint. And we took them all around this property, and then we finally had them find their treasure, and we had some candies and some compasses and other prizes for them. And it was so cool because we had a couple of the kids said, "This is the best treasure hunt we've ever been on."
Yeah, I think like a geocache
Yeah.
thing, yeah, that would be amazing. You could set them up all over the place and
Yeah,
just be
it'd be
like,
great.
hey, whoever, as soon as people walk in, whoever finds these.
Yeah, and
That
the
would be
parents, I
cool.
think, would pay for that because at the end of the day, it's like they were so exhausted.
I think even for grown-ups.
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock, you're like, okay, let's go find that cache.
Yeah.
Some nighttime events. You were talking about flashlights.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
flashlights. Oh, I'm a sucker for them. And you can't really show them off that well in the daytime. Have you thought about doing like any night classes or having it go longer than 5 o'clock?
Yeah, that's actually an excellent idea.
Yeah.
I didn't leave because there's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
You're out in the middle of nowhere. But a class on astrophotography, a class on just navigation, celestial navigation
Yeah.
or something.
That would be
That's
cool.
a great idea.
Night vision classes or showing off. There's a vendor out there that wants to sell night vision of any form.
Yeah.
You can be like,
That'd be great.
you can walk all these woods at night and have a whole new kind of appreciation for the woods with being able to see everything.
That's a great idea because I have a friend that I used to work with at the company that I work with now, and he is the vice president of marketing for Trijicon. I just need to contact him.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for that idea.
And one of the things that I just thought of with the kids, it was really rewarding to me today when we were going to do some different animal tracking. There were a couple of kids that said, "Oh, I remember when you taught us this last year, and this is what I remember," and they blah, 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 blah. And to know that they're really recalling it and utilizing it, that's very rewarding to me.
When I heard about this, I went to look up any information I could, and there's really nothing out there. So I didn't really know what to expect. In fact, I didn't know that there was going to be porta potties until like a week before, and before we came. What is somebody to expect who's never been here before? What is available? What kind of resources are there? I mean, I saw that you guys are off grid, and you have enough power for your own house, and maybe you have extension cords going out to all the different tents so you can have people present and stuff. So obviously there's no electricity for people to have here. Water, you got to bring it in yourself.
Yep.
Okay, there are porta potties.
Yeah.
That's good. Trash is here. You have some food vendors.
Yeah, and that's been growing every year. The first year we only had one, and we feel from a vendor standpoint that our rates are rock bottom. But we did that on purpose because we realized that, for a vendor to put the money to come here, they need to know that they're going to be able to make that back and more. And so we have more vendors, and one of our vendors said, this was really good for us, thank you, and I'm going to spread the word to other vendors. And so we think that, again, by word of mouth, that's going to spread. and we make sure that all of our vendors are happy. Like, how did you do this year? Are you happy with what you made? And so everyone so far has said yes. So we expect that will continue to grow. For example, this year we had someone that was selling hot dogs. We had some pizza, and actually they had quite an extensive menu beyond pizza. We had someone that was grilling hamburgers, and those were our 3 food vendors. But we do clearly tell people that, listen, this is dry camping, that, make sure you bring your own water. But with that said, we purchased extra water and we gave the water away. We gave how many 1 gallon waters away?
And water bottles.
Mm-hmm. And so we do provide that because we realize people sometimes don't come prepared. And we've grown. Initially we only had 2 porta potties. Now we have 6. Well, actually 7, because we had someone at the last moment that we'd never considered a handicap accessible one, and so we literally on Saturday night called the local porta potty place and said, hey, we have someone that is handicapped and needs access, and so they brought it out.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
we were lucky. Yeah. And I had one vendor that I talked to that said this has been the best they have ever done. The audience here was, I guess, just the right audience for them, because they've never had so much response as what they had here.
Yeah. So we think we're getting there.
Cell signal. Not too much service out here, very little internet service.
Cell service is limited depending on what you have. For example, if you have Verizon where we live, I have Verizon, not going to work until you go out our back 40. Then you got great reception. But if you have AT&T, which she has great service throughout.
We were doing a podcast the other night, or last night, last night, and we couldn't do it live because nobody had a strong enough, sturdy enough signal to send it out, so that would have been kind of cool. Anything else that you want to, tell the world, tell the peoples?
Well, if you've never put on an event like this, it is a lot of work, and
especially when you don't know what you're doing.
Especially when we don't know what we're doing, and learning as we go. And there are times where, as we're preparing for this and during it, we're like, do we really want to do this again? But I can tell you that it's the energy that we get from the people that have come up and said, thank you so much. We really appreciated this. Or, someone coming up and saying, like I told you, this is just the first time I felt real community. People saying that, people coming from across the state, which is the first time we've had since we've been doing this, and how thankful. That just is a big injection. And we know that we're on the right track, and it gives us the energy to say, we're going to do this again. And so, we're going to continue doing this, and we're going to learn from our mistakes. We're going to make it better, and we're just going to educate and create more community.
Keep growing.
And keep growing.
A lot of the prepper expos that I've been to have the government there, emergency response teams, or the sheriff's department, or the local ag group, or something like that. I didn't see anybody here. Is that a design, or was that just because they don't know about it?
No, we
had the Department of Natural Resources that we had scheduled with them about 6 months ago to have someone come in and talk about defending your property from wildfire. No show. Didn't answer calls. We don't know what happened.
So the government's allowed to come?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We would have no problem. We don't feel that anything that we're saying and doing would cause us or anyone else any problems at all. And we have had, for example, we've had local paramedics that work for the sheriff department. They've supported us by volunteering their time and hanging around for paramedic, if we need paramedics, if we need emergency medicine.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some people that have volunteered for security that have been involved. So we have no problem with that.
I think some classes on first aid.
Is that?
Some classes on first aid, stop the bleed,
Yeah.
even a CPR class.
We
Well,
had one today.
Yeah, we had
Oh,
one.
did you?
We had an emergency medical physician that does time at our local hospital and down south from us, and he's real good friends with our son, who's a paramedic. And yeah, he came today and spoke on what do you do when no one is going to come. And I was talking with him that next year we want to do a high fidelity simulation where we actually have players that act different injuries, and there are ways that you can make a simulated bleeding and really put people under stress. And so the doctor said, yeah, he goes, what we can do is we can have the first day we'll talk about training on how to do this, and then the second day we'll have the high fidelity simulation. And so that's something that we're going to do next year.
And I do a lot of those in my work, teaching the nursing students, and we have recipes for making very realistic looking blood. And one of the things that we've done is pour out certain amounts of blood onto a absorbent pad and have people try to guess how much blood is lost. They always, even experienced people, always underguess how much blood is lost. And so it's a really good exercise for people to be able to visualize, oh, that much blood and somebody could really be in trouble. That's important to know.
And when did you do the class on delivering a baby if you're...
2 years ago we did emergency childbirth. Last year I taught a suturing class, a basic suturing. So we've done a number of ones on health and emergency.
Yeah. And we've done IVs. We had people
IV training.
that have purchased IV fluid and sets from us.
I got stuck 12 times.
Yeah. So we do that. We think that that's an important component of, being able to stabilize someone. You live out. It's a part of living out is
Being
things
prepared.
happen. You break your leg or the tractor tips over or something, and you need to be able to stop that bleeding or take care of that break before someone comes in and takes you to a hospital.
So another thing to note about getting here is paved roads all the way until your driveway, which is a steep, rocky dirt road. And you have RVs and travel trailers and everybody making it through that, which I was amazed. That was pretty cool. But that's something that you should know about if you're coming up in a little sports car low to the ground or something, that you're going to need a little bit of clearance.
Yeah, we have, in the 3 years, we've only had one RV that decided not to come up the driveway. And we told them, listen, we've had a number of big RVs and campers up here. You can make it up the driveway at its max.
Someone offered to drive it up.
We even offered someone that felt very comfortable driving that. They had one of their own. Well, I'll drive it to the top for you if you want. And they said, no, we don't want to do that. And we do warn them of that. We tell them that the way you come up our driveway, you're going to have to make an acute right turn uphill, and there is a way to come around another way, and so we do give directions on our website on how to do that if you have a big RV. But yeah, you're right. We had some pretty big ones come up the driveway this time.
That was impressive. If you are a person who has a skill or a talent or something that you want to promote and you want to give a presentation here, how does somebody get a hold of you? What's the time frame to set something like that up to be a presenter and get on the schedule? How do they do
Well,
that?
clearly it's helpful the more advance notice we can have, but with that said, we've had people come at the last minute and have something that's really good, and we'll find a spot for them.
Yeah. But they can contact us on the website and email us.
Thrivalists.org. Thrivalist with an S.org.
Yep. And we have already had some people, and we are continually asking If you have a skill that you want to present, please let us know. And we do try some level of screening, but I mean, we had a lady that presented raising bees and keeping beehives, and she said, I don't feel really comfortable presenting. And we said, well, that's okay. And I told her today after she did her second talk, I said, listen, I heard some really positive things. I heard that you were a little nervous about that. And she didn't want anyone filming her too, because she said that I'm too nervous about that. And I said, I heard some really positive things about your talk. And she said, yeah, I was a little bit nervous on the first one, but I really hit my stride on the second. And I said, well, I hope you come back, because I think that that's really an important thing for people to learn if they want to raise bees. And so, yeah, even people that don't feel comfortable, if you have knowledge, you're gonna be willing to talk about it, and it's gonna come across, and people are gonna get it.
I had a woman that came and talked to me about that presentation, and she said that she had gone to another beekeeping presentation last year at somebody else's fair, and she said, it was very complicated and difficult to understand. It was very in-depth for a beginner. And she said this woman, she wasn't a polished speaker, but she knew how to explain it for a beginner. And she said, I feel like I'm ready to try it.
Yeah. So yeah, if anyone is interested in presenting, and you think you have a topic that, please give us a call, contact us through the website, and we'll get back with you and talk with you and get you on the schedule.
Awesome. And then when do tickets go on sale for next year?
Well, we haven't talked about that yet, but one of the things that I've been thinking about is putting them up for sale soon and at a discounted price for people buying early, and then have the price go up as it gets closer to the time, because it would help us to be able to predict better how many people to expect than having a whole bunch of people register at the last minute.
Yeah, because one of the things that go into the planning is there is literally a calculator to calculate how many people and how many hours that the people are going to be using porta potties. And one of the things that we learned is that with we had 7 porta potties, but we had a number of porta potties that were filled up, and we may need to have them actually come and drain them daily.
Because we used the numbers that we had of people registering when I called them.
Yeah.
And they gave me the calculation of how many we needed, and then we had a bunch of people who signed up after that time. I had people registering online this morning to come.
Yeah. So, yeah, it would help us with earlier registration to be able to gauge what resources we need to be able to accommodate the people up here.
But with that said, also, people have been so patient with all of our little glitches, and that I've really appreciated how patient and supportive everybody's been.
And so around the same time, you'll open it up for registering for being a vendor too?
Yeah.
Well, that's all I have for this video. Bang around that bell icon if you want to be notified when new videos come out. Call us on the hotline if you have comments or questions and want to be featured in an upcoming video. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe. Check us out on the website, and we'll see you guys on the next one.